for some links. And if you're a RESA member, you can also check your email because we sent notices to everyone as well. And my guest today, I'm super excited to always have Cindy Lin with me. Cindy Lin with Staged4More is an amazing individual that I have known for probably 15, 16, 7, no, I've known you more than that. 16 years at RESA, probably 20 years now, Cindy, yes?
Yes.
When did you get in the industry?
I think 2016. Yeah, so close to 20 probably. Yeah.
Well, we founded, oh, right, I founded RESA in 2007. I could have swore you've been around longer than that.
Oh, sorry, 2006.
Six, yeah, back to Staged Homes. So yes, we've known each other quite a while. We're going way back in the memory banks here. And one of the things I love about Cindy is you're really well diversified in what it is that you do. So you have the Home Staging Show podcast, and that you can watch for that on Apple podcast and check her out. Cindy, you also have ventured off. We talked about this a little bit before the show about that you went off to across the pond, as we call it. You went off to the UK and you got yourself some education there. We're there for a couple years and relocated. And that just must have been an amazing experience. And what an education.
Yeah, I always have a passion for photography, and when I turned 35, I just realized that I want to do something for myself. So I decided to go back to school for photography. So I went to Paris for a year to study photography there. And then I felt like I want to deepen my practice into a more research-based practice. So I took a year off and then went back to school in the UK for another year on documentary photography.
Yeah, I love it. And I think all the education with that and with your experience in the staging world, there's a lot to say about formal training. And you have put together a program. Cindy Lin's program is actually accredited by RESA. So if you haven't had formal foundation core training for starting a staging business, please do check her out. She is on the website. And then your website address is actually stage4more.com, correct?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, well, let's hit it. We're just going to take some questions along the way. First, again, I think I see a couple more housekeeping slides. If you're unfamiliar with RESA and what we are the Trade Association for Real Estate Stagers. We're a 501c6 tax-exempt nonprofit trade association. That is very important because I don't own RESA. It's ran by a board of directors, and then we have paid staff members that facilitate the strategic plans and the strategies of the organization. So the members own the organization. The decisions and the programs and the choices and everything it is that we offer and the opportunities are really based off of member feedback. So anytime we send out a survey, please take it. Let us know what you need and what you're wanting so we can be able to tend to those needs. So all the programs that we do, all the income that's brought in for anything we do gets reinvested back into the organization. And some of the benefits of supporting RESA, I'm just not going to read everything on here, but we do have leadership opportunities. You can join a chapter. We have a buying group, so you can get additional savings off of wholesale pricing. And we have webinars like this and professional development webinars, as well as a giant library of past webinars in education. I think there's over 180 hours. And we also educate real estate agents on the benefits of real estate staging as well. And that's a program called Staging to Sell, What Every Agent Should Know. So there's a lot of agent outreach as well. If you haven't joined a chapter yet, please check out the chapter finder on the website, find a chapter near you. If you don't have one near you and you'd like to start one, reach out to Gina Vieira. She's the Vice President of Operations at RESA, and she will get you on your way. And there we have it. So let's take our first question. What has been key to your success? So Cindy Lin, from a staging company point of view, what do you think? Can you, I know I couldn't narrow it down to just one, so I doubt you'll be able to as well, but what are the most important things you think about being successful as a stager?
I think the most important thing is having a support network, and that can come from a few different places. So business coaching, mentorship, which is very beneficial for my business and actually helped to shift me from 5-figure to 6-figure, because I started my business when I was 25 and I didn't really have formal business education. So I was kind of fighting on my own. It was very frustrating and I feel really lonely at the time. There was no RESA at the time when I started my staging business. So I had to really go out there and find network and find business education. And luckily I got a grant that gave me free business coaching and mentorship and introduced me to a network of fellow small business owners who are very like-minded. It was a very active community for women entrepreneurs at the time. They were actually sponsored by American Express. So it was very like, I was able to get the business education I needed to really build the foundation of the business. So I would say having business coaching, mentorship, and support network is very, very important. And that's actually how we model our school nowadays. We're actually rolling out a private membership next month to help to support our students and community as well, because that having that support, whether it's friends and family or other business owners, is really important because you want and also you need feedback, right? There are times you want to like just pick someone's brain and talk things out, or even just vent about terrible clients and things like that. You really need community and support be able to do that and to grow together. So I would say that's been the key to my success, that I've been lucky enough to be able to build a support network.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think even with myself here at RESA, why it's been so successful is that it's you're not doing alone. This was, hundreds of people over 16 years, everybody pulling their resources and their knowledge and their passion into an industry to be able to grow an actual industry. Because, back in the day when we first started, there wasn't an industry. There was just individual people doing their individual thing. Nobody knew anybody. There was no camaraderie. And now there's much more of a support system out there. The other thing I think that is important to note is that, obstacles are not there to keep you out. They're there to keep people out who don't want it badly enough. And I see so many people that get into business and an obstacle comes up, a barrier, a problem of some sort, and they kind of just freeze and then they stop and they don't really know how to navigate that. And they just kind of give up. It's like, well, I guess it wasn't meant to be. And it's like, my mode of thinking is like, not meant to be. I'll decide what's going to be meant to be. So I'm going to blow up that obstacle. I'm going to scale over the top of it. I'm going to hit it with some C4. I'm going to dig a trench underneath of it, whatever it takes to be able to get past that obstacle. So success is there for anybody who wants it. You just have to be consistent, have some tenacity, have some passion, and a great support system. And with all those things, I think anything is possible. You really can do it. You just got to put your mind to it. Okay, what are the best ways to get agents on board with home staging services? I'll kick this over to you.
Yeah, I would really recommend finding out how agents work and also what motivates them to work with a stager. So a lot of times when we ask agents, they're going to say pricing. True, pricing is important, but at the end of the day, they want to be able to make sure they have a stager that's easy to work with, that's not going to cause any problem. Better yet, prevent any problems that might happen and also successfully get the house sold, ideally for more money in less time, right? So customer service is going to be really important, also reliability. It's also really important to set the right expectation with your clients. So it's important to talk actually with your existing clients and then find out what exactly is unique to your business. Because at the end of the day, there's going to be differentiation, obviously, within the marketplace. And then the more different you are to stand out among a very competitive space, the better it is. So the best thing I would do is actually have conversation, take your clients out for coffee and find out what exactly makes you different than any other stagers, and then really amplify that advantage because it's really important to find out why makes your clients come back time after time. When I worked as a stager, it was really important for me to be kind of like the set it with Cindy and forget it girl. So that with my top producers, all I need to do is send me their seller. They book the project. I got the key and then everything is done. All I need to do is wait for the photos to show up in their inbox. So it's 100% worry-free. They don't have to worry about me, my part of the role within the listing, and they can just really focus on marketing. So it's really important to find out what really differentiates you from any other stagers in the marketplace. I know a lot of stagers who are starting out, you think pricing is going to be a competing factor, but really it's not a long-lasting and sustainable business practice. If you're competing solely on price, and there's nothing else to your service, like your staging is just like everyone else's, for example, or your service is just okay, then it's really easy to lose that client on the basis of that pricing. So it's really important to find what really differentiates you, what makes you stand out from other competitors in your business.
Yeah, absolutely. Really well said. A couple things I jotted down while you were talking that I really liked. 100% worry-free and reliable. Those are two things that you cannot get to unless you really are in a collaborative relationship with your clients. And you hit the nail on the head when you said you've got to talk to them, you've got to have the conversations with them. And here's the thing is that, you know, people don't buy from you just because you have something they have. People really want to buy from you because they trust you, because they believe in you. And when you have this collaborative relationship, if you establish yourself correctly from the get-go, they view you as the expert. And then they don't dream of doing some of the horror story types things that we've heard of, you know, trying to get you to come down in your pricing or trying to dictate, you know, every move it is that you make, because you have to be able to, you know, set your clear and concise boundaries, number one. But boundaries are great to be able to have, but if all you have are the boundaries, then you're not easy to work with. So you have to make it really sweet spot for them to be able to work with you and for them to trust you with their clients. Because as you said, you know, something can go wrong. We don't ever want to, it's, you know, do no harm. You don't want to ever damage anything with the relationship between an agent and the homeowner. Tracy Melendi, if anybody's unfamiliar with Tracy, she's a home stager in suburbs of Chicago, Illinois area. I've been trying to get her to teach what she does with agents for years. And finally this year, I think she's just wants me to go away, quite honestly. I've quit asking her because she's going to do it this year. And it's really how to turn agents, how to turn your ideal clients, agents into your sales force. And what Tracy does is she built a small class, kind of similar to, you know, staging to sell, what every agent should know, tells you all the key points about staging, what the really things the agents need to know about it. And the other part of her class is that she teaches the agents how to sell her, how to work with her. She has it at her warehouse. So they get a tour. They really understand the back end operation, how all of her policies and procedures, and they pay for this class with her. So they're going to be clients and they're paying her money to take her class so she can teach them how to work with her. And it's brilliant the way that she does it. And it just works so beautifully. So if you are on the fence about RESACon or you want to learn more about that, this is a session to be able to see. She's really smart cookie.
Yeah, I think that's really smart as well, because once you get client to hand money to you, whether it's $5 or $5,000, they are your client and they have invested in you emotionally and financially. So even if it's just a $5 exchange, like Starbucks, for example, right? You start getting into that brand, into that world, and you start getting familiarized with that brand, with that company. So this is a very smart idea, is that they are investing financially and also emotionally into Tracy's seminar. And immediately Tracy is like she's the expert, right? So it's a really good way to build credibility and trustability right off the gate. And so to sell them into a staging service is going to be a much easier sell as well.
Yep, absolutely. All righty. So for someone that's just starting out, are there mentorships or programs that you highly recommend? You know, I think I would imagine all of the education providers that RESA work with have some sort of mentorship or coaching program. Cindy, do you have one, Stage4More?
Yeah, we're actually rolling out a private membership next month because we do recognize the need for a supportive community and then also additional training and coaching. So our membership is going to have group coaching sessions and also co-working sessions on marketing, guest speakers, private podcasts, and things like that. And the way I structure my school is also a little bit different than the other educational providers. I think typically most training schools we see are really more founder centric. That is also great. Like my friend Bobby McGrath, she has a really great course, which is also, I think, RESA Product of the Year, the Occupy Specialist course. That is fantastic. If you haven't taken your interest in Occupy Staging, you should take Bobby's class. But for me, I really want to approach it more like a trade school. So we have a wide variety of courses that can help you along your journey in your staging business. So we have foundational courses that is RESA accredited, like Shell had mentioned, it's called 5-Figure Floor Plan, but we also have interior styling course called Cash and Cushions. We also have actually a 6-month certification program with mentorship and one-on-one coaching built in. And at the end, to graduate, you had to complete $10,000 worth of client work and submit them for feedback in order to get your certification. So we do run our school a little bit differently. But I would say all the programs that RESA recommended are worth taking a look. And I think it's also really important to test. So for example, I have a podcast, right? So you can get a sense of the way I talk, my philosophy in terms of how I approach staging businesses. And I'm imagine similarly with other schools as well, whether it's CSP or staging studio or HSR, they all probably have some sort of free training that you can watch or some sort of podcast or blog post that you can read to get to know the school a little bit better. In a way, it's kind of like a trial. So I think it's important to explore different options and see which one works the best for you.
Yep, absolutely. Could not agree more. So to what degree do you inquire and discuss prospective clients' budget for a stage prior to providing a proposal? Now, I think there's mixed, this is a question I think there's going to be, people would have varying types of opinions on this. So I'll take the lead on this one, and Cindy, then you can jump in on this. I think there's a lot of people, I just actually saw this question online earlier this week. I don't remember when, but one stager had said, I ask them up front because if it's nowhere near what it is that I'm doing, there's no point in continuing the conversation. And then you hear somebody else saying, I don't ask about their budget. I tell them what the price is. It doesn't matter what their budget is because this is what my price is. I kind of range somewhere in the middle of the approach on this. I would be somebody that think when you're talking to somebody, if you get a sense of something, I definitely would understand asking, well, what's your budget for something like, what is your budget? Are you thinking of? If they're giving you some red flags during the conversation that they're thinking they're going to get a 9,000 square foot luxury listing stage for $500, then you can ask them what their budget is. If you do that up front on the phone, then it allows you to be able to then expand the conversation depending on what their answer is. And then a lot of times people don't even ask for it. And they give the bid and the quote, and then they'll come back, and if the homeowner happens to say, oh, wow, that's really a lot more than I thought it was going to be, then people have a tendency to ask, well, what was your budget? What were you thinking? What is your viewpoint on this?
Yeah, I think this is a great question. So for me, the proposal process, so like I think the initial phone call, right, when they call you and ask about your staging services, I usually have a list of questions I ask. Because in a way, it's kind of a pre-interview because I want to make sure that this is the right client and they have the right expectation in terms of what staging services is like. So in terms of budget, I'm going to ask, do you have a rough budget? Of course, they're not going to tell you, but depending on their answer, I can get a sense if the client's serious enough about staging or they simply have the wrong expectation. If they have the wrong expectation about staging, let's say, oh, I just want to pay $50 for your staging service or $500, clearly way under, right? That is an opportunity for me to reset that expectation and explain how we work. And that's why we charge the price that we charge. I find that in general, in a service-based business, it's really important to set the right expectation with your client from the get-go so that they are not going to have issues down the road or prevent as much issues as possible. And you can train your clients to behave the way you want them to. So it's really important to figure out what are some of the key questions that you can ask to kind of figure out exactly, well, maybe they have an unrealistic budget. But once we reset that expectation, can we still work together? Meaning that, will they be able to accept our price? So those are some of the things you need to figure out. So it's really important to ask open-ended question in this kind of proposal phase to prevent any other issues that you may have later on in the project.
Yep, absolutely. So I don't think there's necessarily a wrong way to do it. I think it's kind of preference, and like with everything, you just got to try some things out. Some you might want to try out on a few phone calls, asking it up front, seeing how that goes. How does that work for you? Sometimes it might be a little further on in the conversation. You might see how that works. But I love what you had said about resetting their expectations. I think that's key because I think so many people do expect staging for $500 because, HGTV.
Yeah.
Ty's not coming with his shirt off to make a built-in, is he, Cindy?
I wish.
You're right. Carter and Ty, they ain't showing up. This is how old I am in this industry. I remember Ty from Trading Spaces. That was like,
I mean, maybe that's why it's $500, right? Because you get a show.
there you go. You get the show and you get all the crew behind it, and you get the 7 days of prepping for everybody to get everything done. Just so everybody knows, the shows, they don't stage them in 30 minutes or less. So, and it's
No, it's like a 3-day production process.
3 or 4 days, yep, and a whole crew of people. So what are the pros and cons of renting furniture over owning your inventory while starting out? So here's a question, or here's a thing, a caveat to this: while starting out. It's a kind of a qualifier question. Here's the thing, the bottom line comes down to this. It's just a different business model, but this short end of it is that when you own your own inventory and you're charging rental on it, you make the rental fee. It goes back into your pocket instead of going back into the pocket of a rental company. But when you're first starting out, it might not be feasible to be able to do that. If you don't have capital to invest, to go out and to buy so much inventory to stage many houses right from the get-go, you're going to start out slow, and you're going to buy as you're able to go. And therefore using a rental company is a really great solution to be able to get your inventory taken care of. And we do know that, at all the different rental companies that are out there, is if you're renting from them a lot, and they might have, their regular program that they offer you. But if you're renting a lot and doing a lot of business, you can actually ask the managers there to negotiate better pricing for you. So if you become a A-list client to your rental company, they're likely going to, shave off a little bit of dollars off of your rental fee. What do you think about this question?
Yeah, so I have to say I was a vacant stager for more than 10 years, and basically 99% of my business was vacant. And I had a 5,800 square feet warehouse. Obviously, we own our own inventory. I personally prefer owning my own inventory because I have more creative control over the styling aspect, but also on the pricing as well. But if you're starting out, if you're still not comfortable about owning inventory, you can, just like Shell said, rent furniture to start. I think it's a really good way to start learning pricing in your marketplace and learning how to create pricing proposal, because the rental company is going to be very clear. The sofa is going to cost X amount of dollar. Every piece you rent is going to be line item. So in a way, you're learning how to price out each room, and then adding your own labor and also styling, accessories, rental fee, and things like that. The rental furniture does have its limitations, like Shell mentioned as well. One of the things why I started owning my own inventory was because you can only have access to a certain number of things. So for example, the rental company may have 6 sets of same sofas that they rent over and over for that season. So after a while, if you come across any other stagers who use rental furniture, your portfolio photos might look kind of similar, just simply because you're using similar furniture. The other thing is they don't rent soft goods, so you still have to purchase bedding. And they also have limited selection. I mean, it's much better now, but like artwork and things like that, you still might want to purchase on your own, and also like tabletop accessories and things like that. The other thing too is I'm a little bit more a control freak. That's why I prefer having the control, because when you rent furniture, you're at the mercy of their delivery schedule. So they control the schedule of delivery. So in a way, you're kind of at their mercy, unless you're like what Shell talk about, you're like their A-list client, then they will prioritize delivery schedule for you. But that relationship takes time to build up. And I also want to say that there's actually a lot of stagers out there who only rely on rental furniture. So I interviewed Terry, for example, on my podcast a couple episodes ago. You can go to newcomers.com/podcast, or just search for the Home Staging Show on iTunes or Spotify. She's based in Brooklyn. So the only choice she really has is to work with rental furniture. And she's very successful with her staging business, because in that market, everyone is very used to rental furniture. Their markets are just like that, built in. And there are also stagers who only work with rental furniture and have built successful businesses with it, just like Terry. We're actually going to invite one to speak, to do a light workshop at the school later this year. But yeah, I would say just explore your option when you're first starting out and really figure out what works for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's also pros and cons on from the side of the inventory aspect. So when you're renting, you do not have to have a 5,500 square foot warehouse or a 14,000 square foot or a 20,000 square foot. But if you buy, you do need to have the warehouse. And then if you're buying your furniture and you're owning all of your big pieces, and all your pieces, so not only do you have to have the warehouse, but then you also have to have a truck to move it. And then you have to have a truck to move it. Then you've got to have people to load it in the truck. And then you have to have people loaded in the truck. And then you need workers' comp insurance. If you have people that they're loading in the truck and workers' comp insurance, and they're definitely a W-2 employee. So there's a lot more responsibility that comes into it. But it's just really about, how big do you want to be? How in depth do you want your company to be? I think for me, if I had a choice, that's the way that I would go, because I would want to control it all. I would want
Yeah.
everything just under our fingertips to be able to make sure it's done well, make sure it's done to your particular standards. So there's pros and cons to it. Neither one are right or wrong. It's just a matter of how big do you want to be, and what do you want your business model to look like?
Yeah. And actually before Terry's episode, I interviewed another stager, Jess, and she does the whole warehouse thing. And she even rents out part of her warehouse to other furniture vendors. So it just really depends on how you want to build your business.
Yeah.
But I just want to say in the beginning, I really encourage you to try everything. This reminds me of that movie, the Julia Roberts movie, The Runaway Bride. I don't know if you've seen it, Shao, but remember there's a scene in that she didn't know what kind of eggs she liked because she always had eggs, however her fiance or boyfriend at the time eats them. So for a while she liked scrambled egg, for a while she liked poached egg, and she realized she actually didn't know what kind of egg she liked. So she tried all kind of different cooking style of eggs, and she figured out which one she liked. And in the beginning, when you're building your staging business, it's a bit like that. You want to try different projects, because when I first started out, I thought I only want to do consultation and redesign. I didn't want to get into the inventory stuff. But then when I did vacant, I was like, no, this is it. That's my jam. So you just have to figure out what works for you. And it's up to you to decide how you want to build your business.
Yeah, I love that, the figuring it out. And you might figure it out and it works for 6 or 7 months for you, and then you're going to figure something out and you're going to tweak it. Your business, it's a live growing business that's always growing and always improving. If it's always just stays the same, you're probably not having any growth. It's definitely not as exciting as the other ways are, for sure. I even know with me, just even with my horse boarding stables, it's like the way that we feed the horses changes from time to time, and my process and what I do and how I organize the feed. I just got done making changes 2 weekends ago. So you just have to try something out and see how it works for you, and then tweak it and adjust and just keep growing. I mean, I think that's one of the beauties about being an entrepreneur is there's so much freedom, so much freedom. Sometimes not a lot of freedom on the other flip side of it, but there's much more freedom. You want to get to the point where you can take a vacation. That's what you want to do. Grow your business to where it can run without you and grow it. I just did a coaching call earlier today. I said, if you're starting out, the best piece of advice that I can give you is start making decisions in your business now and preparing it for in 10 or 15 years when you want to sell it. Don't wait until the year before you say, I'm tired of schlepping sofas and I'm going to sell my business. Well, how do I sell it? And you want to sell it in 6 months. It's the worst thing ever. The more policies, procedures, standard operating manuals, all those things that you can put into place. So it's a well-oiled machine so it can run without you, because you do need your downtime. You do need to set your boundaries with what you're doing as far as work. Because, you're working so many hours. I know you've done this. I've done it. I do it less the older that I get, but 60, 70 hour work weeks, that's not my jam anymore. It's just not sustainable. I mean, and I did it for well over a decade, just a grind, of working that much. And in reality, when you do have your boundaries and other people can do things and you can delegate, you actually become more productive. And you get more creative. So if you're spent all the time, the least creative were the years that I was doing things, that many hours a week. Just it's night and day difference.
Yeah, it really is. Like with systems and SOP is so important. And that's something that we are trying to help students at the school as well. Like we're doing an in-person retreat in Italy in September. That's exactly our theme. It's like you need to be able to build your business that you can walk away for a month, even if you want to go on holiday.
Yep.
It's really important to set up that system and SOP so that you don't have to be in your business all the time.
Yep. 100%. I've learned that the very hard way. I definitely was never a believer of it. And now that I am, it's like, it's imperative. Everybody needs to do that. Every entrepreneur has to have work-life balance. It's just, otherwise it can really suck the fun out of being an entrepreneur, and you want it to serve you, you
Yeah.
want it to serve you well. So great advice. Any suggestions on software systems for contact management, sending out announcements, keeping track of agent info, clients, lockbox codes, etc.? There's lots of things out there. Strange DNA we work with, Staged4 does inventory tracking. I'm not sure if they've just got their CRM up and rolling yet, but I know they've been working on that. I know a lot of people use Honeybook as far as invoicing and kind of like I think it's invoicing and contracts and things like that. What type of software are you getting to?
I love Notion. We use Notion to keep track of everything. We do pay for it, but I think it's less than $10 a month. So there's no limit on file uploads. So you can upload, like 5 GB of video at one time. So we actually use it for archival, but also database systems. Like for example, we run our own staging awards, and we keep track of entries or like the winners and finalists and all their submissions in our databases. So you can essentially do the same with your own client. I think there's a lot of systems out there. There's like Trello, Dropbox, Google Drive, ClickUp, Asana, 17 Hats, Honeybook. You just have to find the right one for your business. And I also want to say that I think a lot of stagers get distracted by the software and the systems, and it become a shiny object.
Yes.
And during the search of the perfect system, they become distracted from actually running their business. So they actually create all this busy work that's actually not generating income in their business. So what I recommend is just finding the thing that works in your business, and that's it. It's great if it has bells and whistles, but it's also great if it doesn't, as long as it helps you to run your business and be more productive. We actually had a student coach a few years back, and he was an operation manager for a 7-figure home staging business. They ran the entire business on Excel spreadsheets. And it's not even like the Google version where you can access it in the cloud. It's the one that's physically on your laptop. So if they can do it and run a 7-figure business, run all their clients, all their contacts, and even their inventory, then there's no reason why you need a super fancy system or the top of line that costs like $2,000 just to get on board. So it's just important to find the right system that you can use, and then that's it.
Yep. Another thing that I see stagers doing is they'll start on one and then they change it. And then they abandon and they change it again and they change it again. And it's like, oh, really take your time, talk to people, really do your research, because it costs you so much more money to change systems than it does to take the extra time to make sure it's what you want.
Yeah, just stick with one. And then also then it's less confusing too for your team member if you have any. And then also you can involve your team members to help you with this. So for example, Elaine, who co-teaches with me on our Italian retreat, she's got a business, staging business that serves the entire country of United Kingdom. I mean, that's huge, right? She's got a sales team, she's got an operation team, she's got a business manager. So her business really functions kind of like a corporation. And Elaine is terrible at admin. She knows this. She says that all the time. So I know if I need to make an appointment with Elaine, I don't text her, I text her assistant. So you can actually involve your team members to help you build out the system within your business. You just need to understand how to access it, how to access the reports, and that's it. You don't have to be hands-on doing everything in your business. That's the other thing. Do you think, like, for example, Oprah, is she getting on the phone to like book guests? I don't think so. She just shows up, right? And get ready to film, and that's it. Steve Jobs is not making any iPhone. He just conceptualized it and his team pulls it together. So it's the same thing.
That's where you want to be. That's why we always say, look, half the time these days I say, you know what, I don't know what's going on. My team just tells me where to go. And
exactly. That's what happened to Oprah or Tony Robbins or Gwyneth Paltrow. Their assistant just hand them, here's XYZ you need to do. Here's all the meetings you need to do today. And that's it. And that's when you can really step away from the business and really develop your business on a higher level.
Yep. And it's harder to do it the longer you procrastinate in understanding delegation. I know this is off this particular topic, but it's a good subject. The longer that you take, the harder it is to do. It was very hard for me when I have a team of 4 to 5 people. When I've done every single job at RESA. I've packed boxes and shipped boxes of product, and I've done every single job, cradle to grave. I've done it all. So when people would first come on, it's like you're giving jobs to people, and it's like, ooh, but I do that. And it's like, well, you're not going to do it anymore. You're going to give it to somebody else. It's like, oh, okay, we're letting it go. And then they finally do. And it's like, and then they fly with it. And you're like, oh, okay, that wasn't so bad after all. And now it's like my team, I'm so fortunate with my team here at RESA HQ, because I just find the best people that we can find, and I just get out of their way. I just literally get out of their way. It's like, do your job, do it well, own it, give me your ideas. That's what we pay you for. So I can't possibly think of everything. And if I think a lot of stagers, it's the handing over the keys to the castle, so to speak. You can still be queen of your castle, but you've got to hand the keys over to other people in order to make it really flourish. So don't be afraid to do it. There's definitely a way to do it, but you got to have great people that you trust in order to make it successful.
Yeah.
Do you prorate for time that a client didn't need staging if a property sells before the contracted term? Why or why not? Absolutely not. Not ever, ever, ever in a billion years. In fact, if somebody was to ever ask me, do I get a refund for that? I would just laugh it off and joke, because that's how I would handle it. I'm not saying that you should if you don't have this type of sense of humor and don't have the relationship with your client. But I would be along the lines like, oh, you kid? Are you kidding me? All my other clients give me a tip for that. I get a bonus. What do you mean give yourself a refund? That's how I would handle it with one of my clients, because I know I'd have the relationship with them, that I could say it in a comical manner to get them to think, my gosh, of course they don't do it. And the other thing I think is key is the way you have the language written in your contract, that when you say, let's say if it's a 60-day contract, it's up to the first 60 days. Because then there's less wiggle room for them saying, but it said for 60 days and I didn't get 60 days. So when you say up to 60 days, it's the price for anything below 60 days. So I would say definitely not that you would not refund that. What do you think?
I don't prorate, because even if the house is sold the first weekend, they still need time to remove the contingencies, right?
True.
So there's a lot of back end work that still needs to happen. Maybe there's an issue with the loan, so they can't really remove the staging yet. So in San Francisco Bay Area, the market, usually we offer a 30-day contract, even if they sold the first weekend, unless it's an all cash offer, which is very rare, but that would still take about 30 days. So I'm just going to stick with my 30-day package. But there are times when clients like, well, technically we can let you come and get an inventory, but since I paid for the 30-day, I'm going to maximize and push it all the way up to 30. So we might give them a small incentive to let that inventory go early so we can turn that around somewhere else. Again, it's up to you, but I recommend not to prorate. The other thing too is like, I never offer any discount upfront. If anything we offer is always a promotion. This is a limited time only. So I'm not going to be like, oh, I feel bad that, we're charging all this extra time. No, I don't prorate. It just, I'm running a business, this is the contract and this is what we need. So even if you sold on day 1 or day 30, I still need that promise amount in my contract. So I don't prorate.
Yep, absolutely. Could not agree more. Do you have any tips on hanging Art without nails. We currently use command hooks. However, they don't always work. This is the bane of my existence. This is why I do not stage homes, because I'm going to put a minimum of 3 holes in your wall if I try to hang something.
Yeah. So
Monkey hooks.
yeah, so we don't actually use any command hooks because they don't stay up, and most of our artwork have glass in them, so they definitely won't stay up, and it will create a liability for us if it falls off, breaks, and then hurt someone or scratch the floor and things like that. So we don't use anything unless we know it's going to, securely fix the artwork onto the wall. We actually use screws. We don't use nails either, because screws have teeth, have grooves on them. So they will really grab onto the wall, into the drywall. And on larger pieces of artwork, we actually use 2 or 3 pieces of screw to basically help to even out the weight, so that it's even more secure. You also want to position your screw at an angle to go in where the head of the screw is pointing upward, right? So you're hanging the artwork on top. It's really, it's really self-explanatory, obviously, but the thing is, it's really important. You want to make sure everything you hang is going to be securely on the wall. And then also, if you find the drywall is a bit tricky or it's not holding up as much as you should also use things like anchor or those like plastic things that will help to tighten up the space between the screw and the wall. There's tons of YouTube videos up there, so just feel free to Google that. The other thing too is why you're asking this question, chances are is because your seller comes back and like, oh, well, I don't want you to put any holes on the wall. I think it's really important to educate your seller and your agent that the final effect of the staging is to build the aspirational lifestyle for the buyers so that they will be more likely to make a qualified offer to the house. So it's important to have artwork and to have wall hangings. Otherwise, they're going to feel incomplete when they walk into the space. You can also show them photos. You can Photoshop this or like use Canva, for example, to remove artwork from your stage homes and show them the difference. Like here is if we don't put anything on the wall versus here's a well-staged home that is complete package. They're going to see the difference and they're going to be like, sure, let's just put holes on the wall. It's fine.
That's brilliant, Cindy, to take the photos out ahead, like have them. Like, since we know that there are homeowners that will absolutely say this, so why not have it already done in your arsenal, something that you can pull out, pick it up to your iPad or have it printed out or however it is that you want to give it to them in a PDF. That's brilliant to remove the artwork and show them the difference.
Yeah, sometimes they need to see it to really visualize why you need to do X, Y, and Z. And clients have different communication methods. Some people are really into stats. Some people are really into visuals. Some people need the context. They need the story. So when you are doing the selling, essentially as a business owner, you need to be able to hit all 3 places. So a lot of times just show them visually what difference does it make having artwork versus no artwork.
Yep. What about monkey hooks? Do you have much success with those?
Yeah, I love monkey hooks. They're great. They're really easy as well. But I think there is a weight limit on the monkey hooks. You just want to be sure that if you're hanging a really heavy mirror, for example, we always use screw with anchors just to make sure it doesn't fall off.
Yeah, I've got a heavy mirror. I just bought an antique store 2 weekends ago, and it needs to go on a wall where there's not a stud to get into. So it's got to go into drywall. So I've been, like I said, I put at least 3 holes in walls when I hang artwork. So it's going to sit for a while until I can figure out what I want to do. Thinking I'm going to get some monkey hooks.
And also, we're in the Bay Area. I mean, it's earthquake zone. It's not like earthquake happens frequently, but it can happen. So we want to make sure. And also, if somebody bumped into the wall during an open house, things like that, you want to make sure your artwork really stay up. The last thing you want is getting like an emergency phone call from the agent saying that, oh, your art has fallen off and I have an open house in 5 minutes. And there's all
there's glass everywhere. Yeah, it's the worst.
Yeah.
How much inventory do you recommend having to start up?
0. You should only start buying inventory after you book your first staging project. So I run this a lot with new stagers. They're just starting to buy. They're like, great, I started a staging business, and they start buying. But when they got to their first staging project, they realized actually most of the things I bought may not actually work in my staging project. So it's important to get your project first, and then you go shopping, because then you can buy the right things for your project. Yeah, so that's why I say 0. Please do not buy anything until you book the project. Once you book the project, take that deposit and start go shopping.
Yeah, I could not agree more. And I'm laughing to myself because I remember my when I remember when I told Barb that I wanted to start my staging business and I was going to be leaving and getting married and moving and all the stuff that I was doing in the Bay. And I went out and I went to Court Furniture, the outlet store in Concord, and bought a kidney bean shaped sofa. I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking it was on sale and it was going to be a smart move. And then I got it and it didn't even work in the space that I had bought it for, let alone it was never going to work anywhere else. So I could not agree more. Get your first job and really make sure what you're getting is really what it is that you're needing. If you are going to buy inventory, you can actually finance it through R&R Financial. Rod Basilia, he's a great person in our industry. We work with him at R&R Financial. So if you want to finance buying of inventory, if your company is able to afford that, that's a good option for you as well. Speaking about buying inventory and wholesale, we do have a buying group, resabuyinggroup.com. This is free for RESA members. These are some of the brands that we work with. So they are all giving an additional discount beyond their wholesale pricing. We are brand new, Unique, Loom, and Armin Living. I actually don't have their offer to us yet. We've just signed them in the last couple days, but they are 2 new ones that came on this year, and we'll be seeing them at RESACon. So check them out as well. Also helps you save money. So what's something you wish you knew before starting your home staging business? Now that's a loaded question.
Yeah, I really thought about this. Like, what would it be? I think the ultimate thing is understanding money more. I think it's very important to understand how money comes in and out of your staging business so you can really make intelligent and educated decision in your business. Things like hiring a new assistant, buying more inventory, moving to a warehouse or a bigger warehouse, pricing objections from your clients, what service offering you should focus on as a staging business. All these are important questions that if you don't understand your money, you cannot make good decisions on. So for example, if you're actually losing money, should you go out buy more inventory? No, right? But if you're not keeping track of your finances, you might think you're making money, but you're not doing the actual math to figure out, oh, actually, I'm actually losing money because our overhead expense is really high because we spent a lot of money on inventory we're not buying, we're not actually using. So it's really important to understand your finance. This is something that I really drill with stagers in our school. Like, it's really, really important to understand. You cannot make decision willy-nilly in your business, even with hiring assistant. Let's say you want to hire a part-time assistant who works with you 20 hours a month. So maybe it's at $20 per hour. So that's what, for 20 times 20 is $400. Where are you going to find that extra money, right? So, you know, and there's going to have payroll taxes and additional paperwork, payroll costs as well, you know, because you have to hire a payroll service, things like that. Those are all expenses and overhead. How does that factor into your pricing per project? So it's really important to understand the finance and also keep track of it and understanding like, okay, what exactly is my key profits here? How can I get more of those staging projects that generates a lot of profit for the business?
I think it's brilliant. I had 3 coaching clients in this week alone. And I asked them, what's your profit margin?
Yeah,
Nobody
people
knew.
don't know.
They didn't know. None of them knew. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? Like, how do you
I
make
mean,
your decisions? You got to know. It's super important to know your numbers. I could not agree with that more. Data is king.
yeah. And the thing is, like, the other thing too is we don't really think about the exit strategy of our business when we're first starting out or even midway through our staging career, right? We're just thinking about surviving the day to day. But for your business, the long-term growth is really important because eventually you're going to exit that business. Maybe it's like for me, I'm in my mid 40s now. So it's like, oh, okay, what do I want 20 years when I retire? Do I want to have my staging business? Do I still want to be moving furniture around? Things like that. So you want to think and start planning out for a long-term goal with your staging business. And so everything you do now, like Shell talked about earlier, setting up systems, and we talk about SOPs, workflow and things like that. Those are all intellectual properties and assets that can add value to yourself when you're ready to sell your business. So it's important to start establishing those things in your staging business, even early on when you're first starting out. Just like Shell said, if you are starting out building your system in year 1, it's going to be so much easier than when you're trying to do it in year 5, when you already have a lot of inventory or team members and things like that. It's going to get much more difficult to start building systems into your business. So the earlier you can start, the better it is. And what we were trying to do is creating more value for my staging business. So I have more option one day that say, I want to retire, I want to stop working, whatever it is, or I want to have my team run the business. I can take 6 months off and live in Europe, whatever it is I want to do. Your business can support that goal you have in your life. So it's really important to understand how these things run in your business. And that's something we really work on in our in-person retreat. And I also want to say, don't feel frustrated, because even experienced stagers still struggle with this. Last year on the retreat, we have stagers ranging from $150,000 to $700,000 a year. And the common thread is people still don't have system to really support their business or understanding finance enough to help them understand what exactly is their top profit margin they need to achieve to grow and expand and scale the business. So it's really important to get into good habit early on in your staging business, so that it's not going to feel so hard once you start growing and things start getting chaotic, but you have the system to support you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I know for myself, with working with so many stagers and coaching them with their businesses, there's definitely similarities where if we were to ask this question, they would say, I wish I got educated sooner. I didn't know what I didn't know. So they go out and they don't get foundation training, like the 5-figure floor plan of Stage4More, Cindy's course. They don't get that education up front, and they kind of mill around on their own, and nothing's happening. And then they get frustrated, and then they're doing this for 10 months to a year, and then they're like, okay, well, maybe now I'll tip my toe into some education. And they've wasted time, they've wasted money, they've wasted creativity, they've wasted passion, they've wasted being frustrated. So get educated early, and get to RESACon early. That's another thing is RESACon, it's amazing for the education that everybody's going to get, but you're also going to get it to be able, in addition to the education and the sessions, what you're going to learn so much by sitting with people at lunch and at the dinner and side conversations. And you're always going you're going to sit next to the right people, hands down, every single time. You are going to be attracted to a table, you're going to sit down, the right people are going to show up, you will have conversations, and lo and behold, everybody gives a little bit, everybody takes a little bit, and problems get solved. So it is super important. So speaking of the 5-figure floor plan, can you give everybody your website of how they can reach out to you if anybody hasn't had core training, and how they can get in touch with you and to be able to get that core training, and what's that looks like?
Yeah, just go to stage4more.com, STAGED4MORE. It's also here. And you can also find us on Instagram. You can DM me anytime, slide into my DM, and then we can set up a time and chat about what your goals are for your staging business, how you want to build it. And I see Joanna just pop it in the chat box as well. And then we also are having a finance workshop series this month. So you can definitely come on the school website and check that out. That is for more advanced stagers. We're going to talk about cash flow, budgeting, and tax planning, which is really important if you're in the growth phase of your staging business. And if you're a RESA member, we do give you a discount for the workshop. So definitely just reach out and let us know, and we'll help you out with it.
Excellent, excellent. All right. So do you think hiring someone to assist on stages who just recently got their real estate license is a conflict of interest? That's a good question.
That's an interesting question because I was looking at this and I was like, what would be the pros and cons of this? I don't know the full story on the back end, so I can't be sure. But I think in general, if you're going to start having assistants and team members working in your staging business, regardless if it's a temporary relationship like an internship or shadowing, or if you're paying them like a long-term assistant, you should have a SOP so that you can make sure that the training is consistent and how much do you want to train this person, right? Because a long-term assistant is going to be different than someone who just come in for a day to shadow you. So you want to make sure you're creating an SOP that you can have this kind of training to align with the goals you have for your business as a business owner. At the same time, their goals as well as a team member or just a temporary intern or a person shadowing your business. I think that is really important. Ultimately, you as a business owner, you get to decide how you want a team member to work in your business. You get to define the area of their work, right? So it's really important to have that SOP so that you can manage and communicate that expectations upfront. And also making sure that this is going to be a mutually beneficial relationship for both you and your team member, whether that's just a one-off relationship or a long-term relationship. So ask the right question, ask open-ended questions. Why do they want to work with you? What is their goal in the staging industry? Or is this something that they want to use to help to expand their real estate business? Then in that sense, that's a pro, because if they're going to be a real estate agent, they can be someone that helps you expand your network, right? So like I mentioned, Elaine, who teaches with me on my Italian retreat, she has retired real estate agents actually working on her sales team. And they're all retired sales, real estate agents. So they already know the market really well. They know everyone in the market. So it's really easy for them to do the outreach. So Elaine can essentially tap into their network without having to do a lot, simply because they have that background coming in. So you really have to decide, and that's why I say, because I don't know the background story, so I can't advise fully on the pros and cons. But I would say just ask open-ended questions and really figure out what exactly is their expectations in working with you, what do they want to get out of it, and how, as a business owner, can you support them during this temporary relationship so that it's a mutually beneficial relationship for both of you.
I have got nothing to add to that. That was brilliant.
Thank you.
Agree 100%.
Yeah.
What are the best ways to store rugs and artwork in your warehouse? Racks.
This is a really common questions, I feel like, for those of people who like have inventory. So we actually built custom shelves for our artwork based on the rough size. We divide them into groupings. So I'm a very visual person. So everything we have in our warehouse is very visual. So I like my pillow room to be color blocked. You know, they're sorted by colors. I like my accessory racks to be types of different accessories. So I know if I need bowls, I have my bowls shelf, et cetera, et cetera. And same thing with artwork. They're grouped by small, medium, large, and oversized. And we're able to build custom shelves for that. And when we store our artwork, we actually cut up all the cardboard boxes from delivery and we put them in between each piece of artwork for cushioning. And also the other things too, on the back of artwork, sometimes there's like loose staples or loose nails that can scratch each other. So we always store artwork face to face and then back to back. This way we can minimize the scratches. The other thing too is that we actually used to rent artwork occasionally from local art galleries, and this art gallery would work with, they sew these custom fabric pouches, and it worked really well for transportation, because what happens, they have like this pouch and then they put the artwork in face to face and back to back, just like how we do ours, and then they put something in between each piece, like how we do it with cardboard boxes, and it's very safe for transportation. It just makes it so much easier. So that's something that you can try out as well. Ultimately, you want to figure out your own system. And in terms of rugs, for every piece of inventory we have, I have my assistants create labels for them. And they're really They're really simple labels. Basically, we take masking tape and a Sharpie and we write out the size of each piece of inventory and where they live in the warehouse. And then we tear off the tape and put it on top, on the back of it. And so when we store the rug, when we roll it up, we always want to make sure the label is facing out. So it's easy for us to see, okay, this is a 6x9 or this is a 4x8, whatever it is. And we usually have rack space that we set out for a carpet, basically. And we're very lucky that with our movers, they're really easygoing and they're okay to just like stack everything and take out the one I want later on. So I know it's not very clever. There's no barcoding in our system, but it works for us and it's fast and it's quick. So it just depending on how you want to run your warehouse and what works best for you.
Excellent. Love it. What are the most effective marketing techniques? Facebook, Instagram, Google ads, in-person networking? My answer is all of them.
Yeah, I think there's no magic bullet, but you have to find your own magic bullet and tap into your own strength. So I'm a Sagittarius. I'm a Californian also. I'm a bit woo-woo, but yeah, I'm into astrology, sorry. But for me, teaching is a great passion of mine and higher education as well. So for me, I tap into what I'm really good at. So I like to teach, I like to organize events, even though I'm an introverted person, but I'm really happy helping people organize events. So I got involved with my association. I joined WCR, which is the Women Council of Realtors. And I just joined in their events committee and I helped them. And through that, I was able to meet a large group of people. Because I was on the committee, I was helping with the events. So at networking events, I have a natural excuse to break the ice and be like, hey, I'm Cindy, I'm on the event committee. How are you enjoying it? Blah, blah, blah. And we can introduce ourselves. And then I'll be like, yeah, I'm a stager, da, 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 and here's my card. So in a way, it gives me an excuse and like a foot into the door to talk to people. And same thing with teaching. You know, I make presentations, I teach presentations. You know, it's a really great way to get you in front of a very large group of people who are your prospective clients. So really tap into what you're really good at and what you're really comfortable with and start doing a lot of that. And I think in general, I think stagers today, what I found is a lot of stagers are really artistic, creative people, but they're shy. They don't really want to do the business things. They feel schmoozing is really hard. And so there's naturally a lot of resistance towards face-to-face type of marketing, but especially when you're starting out because you don't know what to say to a real estate agent, right? And I totally understand. I'm also an introvert, so I prefer online interaction because it's so much easier, right? There's no like face-to-face, there's no like awkward, like how do I hold my plate and my drink while I'm talking to you and shake your hand? But the thing is like, it's passive and everyone is doing it. So one of the things I recommend is finding the real estate agent you want to work with in your market, find their social media and start engaging with them on social media. So like their posts, comment below, and then start just popping up everywhere on their social media feed. They are going to notice because most real estate agents in the market, they probably don't have like millions of followers or tens of thousands of followers. So your name, by popping up, by liking their photo, by commenting on it, they're going to see it on the notification all the time. And they're going to be like, oh, who is this person? Let me look them up. And then what you do is you find out where they're going to be in person and you go up and meet them. You're like, oh, hey, John, I love your Instagram feed. That listing looks incredible, blah, blah, blah. And you just start talking to them. So you're taking that offline interaction into an in-person interaction, but in a natural way. It's a natural progression. You're already popping up on their radar. All they need to do now is put a face to the name. And the other thing I really advise is that if you want to stand out in your marketplace, you really need to do something differently than everyone else, whatever else everyone else is doing. Liking someone's post, commenting on their social media, that is simple. That is easy. Everyone can do it. But if you can do something that's a little bit harder, a little bit more different, then not everyone's going to be doing it. So naturally, you're going to stand out very quickly. So things like doing presentations, going to open house visits, those are the things that is really going to get you more mileage as well. And also it's really difficult to say no to someone's face compared to like an email follow-up or like like a like on Instagram or a DM. So, if you go on there, if you start developing that relationship online, start taking it offline, and then start developing those relationships in person and keep showing up consistently, then you're going to start converting people into clients.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more on this. I think, Facebook, Instagram, those are all things that you should having. It's the minimum. It's the standard tools that a stager should have to be correct in what it is they're doing in their business as far as some outbound marketing. But I agree with Cindy Lin, the networking aspect. I get it. If it's a square peg round hole, then you definitely don't want to do it, because you could do more damage to your brand than if you had a staff member who it's not a square peg round hole and they could attend networking events. When I first got into the industry in 2002, I got involved with two organizations. One, because we didn't have a RESA, there was no staging association for everybody. But I got involved with the Contra Costa Association of Realtors, a local association of realtors. I joined as an affiliate. And then I also joined our Women's Council of Realtors. RESA was founded off of my experience of being involved at WCR. I am still a member today. I have a loyalty to them because it helped me grow so much in this industry. And that's why I adopted their business model for RESA chapters, because if anybody's ever been to a WCR meeting, that's the way a RESA chapter should be ran. It's the same concept. So I always recommend to people to go to these meetings. And the bottom line, I have the saying is that, if you want to get business from real estate agents, you need to party where they party. And they know how to party, but what you need to do is you have to infiltrate on their level and you have to become one of them. It just is what it is. When you go to the local association of realtors or you go to a WCR meeting, all the people in those rooms, there are agents, there are home inspectors, title reps, mortgage lenders. There's everybody that's involved in a real estate transaction will be at these meetings. These are the movers and the shakers. These are the people that are making it happen. If you want to be a person that's making it happen in your neighborhood, then you need to become one of them. And the only way to become one of them is you have to go, you have to be there all the time, volunteer. If you're going to volunteer for something, don't volunteer for something that you cannot do an amazing job, because they were going to be watching you. So if they have a fundraiser, they could have like a Margaritaville or a fashion show, and you can say, you can come in and do the stage decorations, because it's probably you have furniture to be able to do things like that. You can work in a hospitality role. That's a great role to be able to play at any one of these networking events, because then you can be at the person at the check-in table, handing everybody their raffle ticket and, their sticky name badge and, telling them where the buffet is. And you've met 50 people that have now come through the door. Ticket sales for those events are another way to be able to get involved. But just to be able to go, the key with the networking is, I think, that so many people get wrapped up into, I'm going to go to this networking luncheon and I'm going to collect 50 business cards and I'm going to put them in my constant contact and I'm going to email the crap out of them and I'm going to get some business. And then they do that. And then half of them unsubscribe. And then they're very upset. Then they're not generating anything. The way that I would prefer that people do it, and another perspective to look at it, is that you want to go and become one of them. And if you're there and you're just collecting business cards and you're too chatty Cathy and you're too thirsty, that's screaming how green you are. And real estate agents, and I mean this in the biggest of compliments, they're kind of like trained assassins. They can smell the fear from somebody. So if you come in and you're presenting yourself that you're just too hungry, too green, too gung-ho, too thirsty, that's kind of a turnoff. So be a little bit more elusive. If you're a little bit more elusive, and you just, speak about them, ask them questions, engage with them about what they're doing, talk less about you, more about them, and get to know them on a human level and connect that way. Business comes back to you and hits you in your face tenfold. And then, you can develop conversations at these luncheons, and somebody might say something in passing that they're looking for a treadmill. I'd be on the Facebook marketplace looking for that treadmill and emailing them, hey, I heard you talking at the luncheon today that you're looking for a treadmill. I ran across this today. Thought you might like it. Pass it on. Just be friendly. Just connect with them as humans. And you do that and you keep coming time after time after time. Undoubtedly, you become one of them. You become a staple. People start talking. Someone's going to end up asking you questions about staging. And when they do, that's when you open up those gates and be able to engage with them. And that's my thing about the networking. I love it. I also, I know people would think I was crazy if I said, I'm a little bit more of an introvert, but I I actually like I can get on a stage and I can do it. I can speak to 1,000 people and I can do it and not skip a beat. But the second that I book something like that, I'm like, why did I do that? Why did I do that? Now I have to go do this. Now I have to go do it. But then you go and you do it and you enjoy it. So if it's a total square peg round hole, get somebody else to do it and rep your company. But if you can manage through it, it's a great networking is a really great way to be able to build your business, but you got to give.
Yeah, totally. And then Shell mentioned a really good point. Like there's going to be title reps or photographer, mortgage brokers. These are actually great marketing partners. They're not
So many.
competing with you. So you can actually pool your marketing dollars together and that's to maximize your marketing resource. And I think organizing things like seller seminar and inviting agents you want to work with to come speak is also another great way to really build that relationship. You just need to do something that's a little bit different than someone else is doing to really stand out and make an impression.
Yep. Could not agree more. So we're at the end of the time. We actually went over. So thank you, Cindy, for staying with us. Tickets are on sale now for RESACon. If you're on the fence, what do we say? Every webinar, jump off the fence and run to your computer. Members $649, non-members $899, but it's worth it if you join RESA because you get a RESA membership. You still save money and you get the membership pricing. So check us out because we are back at the M Resort. So it's a wonderful luxury hotel. It is off strip, which means there's not a lot of riffraff at these particular hotels. They're very, very nice. There's a free self-parking garage. There's valet service, complimentary shuttle to and from the hotel to the airport. And it actually takes less time to get to the M than it does to downtown Las Vegas from the airport because there's no traffic. It's just a straight shot. So check us all out. Here are a few of our sponsors as well. Cindy Lin, you are also a sponsor as well. Cindy Lin is sponsoring our lanyard. So you're going to have her right around your neck, right around your neck and being able to think about you. We'll also get you added to this slide for the future. Next one, I don't see you on here. Am I missing you? I think you're probably not on this one. We'll be on the next one for sure, but Cindy Lin is a sponsor supporting RESACon. So get out to RESACon. You don't know what you don't know, and it's a great time for all to be had. Cindy Lin, thank you as always for joining.
Thank you for having me.
I always love catching up with you and talking with you. You really have some really nice insights and you're just a solid human being. So I do have an appreciation for you. So until next time, everybody, thank you for joining us and happy staging. Bye, everyone.
Bye.